All right, welcome back. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. We're going to talk a little bit about the American dream. All right, so what's the American dream? It's basically wife, two kids, um, moderate sized home in a suburb, picket fence, all that stuff. Now, some of these articles are going to be interesting. We'll go over what seems to be about it. All right, so there's this argument now that technical people are trying to see the American dream, but it's dying. Why is that? Just because the roles are not paying what they need to. There's not enough opportunity here. A lot of it's being outsourced to, overseas, or they're importing overseas labor into the U.S. Now, you're going to see a lot of crazy arguments over the next few years as they start to use AI even more as a hammer to get wages down, as they start talking about the de-dollarization, how things are getting worse. You're going to see a lot of crazy people. Like Elon Musk should not be listened to unless you actually own Tesla stock. He's an overglorified government contractor. I mean, people say he's a genius. I do not agree with that. I think he's smart, relatively, but seeing him as this Tony Stark person, you're losing your mind. I would say overall, he hit the right stride at the right time with the right crew. Got in with the PayPal mafia and made a lot of things happen. It's the same Altman, smarter, more crafty, but again, not a genius. I would say right time, right place. And let's see, they're going to talk about creating wealth in AI area. You're going to create wealth because it's the gold rush, right? And you're not going to make it by actually digging for gold. You're going to make it by selling the gold pans. That's how you're going to have it. So if you want to get rich, I mean, there's different types of rich. Like, if you want to get super rich, you're going to have to be one of the people at the forefront of foundational models, implementing business to business use cases for AI. But if you want to get regular rich, which I'm going to aim for, is how do you become critical in that AI domain? How do you become a pan handler, right? You're selling pans to the gold people. So that means understanding what are these companies actually trying to do? And it's not just the big FANG companies, it's what are the other companies that are surrounding them trying to do? So you think about, all right, think about the power companies. Think about the water companies that go for data centers. Think about the cement making and foundation pouring that go into creating these data centers. That is where you're going to see a lot more people make money, get employed, be able to raise children, go on those vacations, buy a jet ski. That's where it's going to go. These Y Combinator, tech startup, super CEOs, they're all in their own bag trying to make their thing sell. So take everything you listen to them about with a huge grain of salt. These guys know a lot, but they're also at an area where they're able to move the needle. They're able to basically push the narrative rather than be subject to it. Let's see, economists studying slowing job market, feeling it. Yeah, look, if you're getting a PhD, it better be in something a lot more technical than economics. And it's not because economics is bad, but man, yeah, I'm not going to sign up for that. Sorry. Um, nope. AI blame for video game industry left. Yeah, look, the video game industry for the past 20 years has been a crap show. And I'll say the people I know who work for these companies, they'll typically be on these like crazy sprint cycles where, you have to get stuff done 1 week sprints. And when your game is ready to ship, they lay off the whole swath of engineers. The only people I know who've been very successful work on legacy games that have small user groups. Like I have a friend who he's been with a major game maker in the Northeast. Let's just say in the Northeast. I won't say which city, right? Uh, he's been with them for 20 years, and this game has been around for even longer than that. But because he works on it and it has a dedicated user base, he's never seen a layoff. And so he's in a position where he can do everything that's needed, pay for the home to be renovated, go on a nice vacation, take up weird hobbies like I don't know, pod collecting or batch brewing or all this, whatever, whatever nerds are gonna do. This is what I'm a nerd. I'm allowed to say that. All right. So this is oh man, this one has a paywall. Oh my God. Okay, so AI is gonna be a good add-on, and it'll allow them to downsize the staff, but the profits in video games is enormous. It's more than almost every other domain of entertainment combined. So they're gonna use AI to produce better content, but they're also gonna use it, and it's gonna make AI slop. So find yourself a good niche if you want to stay in gaming. If I was going to stay in gaming, I would go towards casinos, betting. That would be good. work for one of these big companies that works, MGM, or there's a couple of holding companies that work on gaming, betting, video poker, all that type of stuff. That is where I would head towards if it was going to be in games. But outside of that, I mean, you're look, you want to find a way to hate what you once loved. This is what I would do. All right, let's see, Davos. This is where the billionaires come, Switzerland, and buy. Never mind. I won't finish that sentence. They come here, talk chop, and then basically make plans in public for what they want to do to all of us plebeians. So one thing I do like is that they're saying job loss to AI is being overhyped. So there will be job loss, but I think it's them using a cudgel in order to control wages, control labor power. That's point blank what I see it as. There's definitely going to be job losses at the lower ends of the white collar, blue collar, pink collar trades, because even IT is a trade. What they're doing though is going to make a shift, and there will be some people who will be left behind, but that's largely because they aren't willing to actually do the work to upskill or reskill. So let's say 30% of the work now, and so 60%. I mean, that seems realistic. And there's a certain way where they'll want a human in the loop in order to make decisions based off of AI summarizations, different models that AI presents, and then somebody to actually go back there and redo any training of the models. At that point, you'll become a lot closer to indispensable. And then the people who don't try to get in this, and I trust me, I know a lot of people who have white collar jobs, they don't even touch AI. They're afraid of it, like a child with a spider or like a snake. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Another job cut. Citigroup. Well, I'd want to see what their financials look like, what their loan balance sheet looks like. Just because this seems like a small cut for a city. Latest waves and part of the effort to 20,000 roles. Ooh, that's that's painful. Ongoing structural changes, increased use of technology. So this is automations. This is AI. I don't know what city's workforce overall workforce is. Let's see. Yeah, 20,000 to 10% reduction. And so this 1,000, that's not terrible. I mean, it's terrible for the people who get laid off, obviously. Um, that's ridiculous. I would say, let's see, what are they saying? Multi-year restructuring. So they probably thought AI was going to be the thing that got them, and it probably will, but it's going to undermine them longer term just because they're going to kill off a lot of junior roles, and those juniors are going to go somewhere else. Hopefully, they got a couple of years service, and they'll go to a smaller boutique area, and then they'll be able to say, boom, this is where I can actually make a name and then make my own business. I think long term, there will be people who find this work creates better jobs in the economy, but the pain is going to be unbearable, especially if you don't come from money or like myself, or I don't, meaning I don't come from money, right? So if I got laid off, I would be furious, and then I'd be broke. Not broke, but I would not be happy with the cash flow going down. Um, let's see. Markets targeting financial sector will need to say alert, new titles. That means they're reformatting and restructuring everything. Basically the financial structure is going to financial the financial sector is going to be a fintech oriented sector. So they're going to be tech first, and then they're going to have to make sure that regulations meet security standards. And I think that's where they're going to see a lot more roles grow, and then roles grow out from that, where you can have people who are traditional finance people who have some tech literacy, and you have people like myself who are security oriented who also have financial literacy. So it's going to be a crossover between the two domains. Okay. Tech Titans, old guards fragility. Oh, locked article. Never mind. Okay. High tech job vacancies climb. Yeah. So this is January 2026. I've had a lot of companies reaching out. And this is saying job vacancy reached 4.8, up from 4.2. And so this is showing that the golden time of IT was around 2021, that late 2020 to late 2021. There were people getting hired like crazy. And at this point, I think they cleared a lot of house of older engineers who didn't want to upskill or reskill, or they just cost too much. And now they're trying to reset the bar for a lower wage floor. And so let's see, global demand for Israeli products, strong tech sports. Okay. Foreign investment, weakening dollar, significant exports from defense. Like there's a restructuring that's going on throughout the whole world order. And that means a lot of companies and a lot of countries are restructuring how they do business and what that's going to mean. And so I think this is going to be a good window for anyone who wanted to get into tech to actually do it. So you're going to see a lot more AI oriented work, and you're going to see defense rising up. Anytime you see, if you're on certain websites, you'll see Palmer Luckey on some interview with his ponytail and his Smash Mouth lead singer t-shirt, and he's just talking about how we're going to right size for the new tech oriented defense wave. And that's cool, but as long as I'm getting hired, I'm fine with that. But this is focused on Israel, which is that's an interesting mark. But I will say this: they do have a lot of technology companies in that country, so they know what they're talking about, and they're trying to see where their market is actually going to be beneficial. But since they are a strategic ally with the U.S., which is my home country, seeing how they're doing and how they're scoping it out is going to make sense to seeing how you're going to scope out. Let's see, tech hiring seen rising 12%. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier. And point, point, point to say, honestly, I did not read any of these articles, but a lot of the guys I work with, the guys that I'm friends with, we do talk about how we've been seeing a huge amount of roles. And this is normally the season where there's just nothing. It's just a ghost town. It's usually Thanksgiving till MLK weekend is where there's just nothing going on. And I saw a nice pop from Thanksgiving through Christmas, through New Year's, and even a little bit after New Year's. So there's a lot of good stuff happening right there. And they're trying to figure out how are you going to get AI into the workforce, AI into your platform, and then how are you going to make sure you're more robust? And the big reason is there's a lot of script kiddies who were getting outed and ousted in those earlier layoffs. You remember when I saw City cutting 1,000 jobs? Remember 2 years ago, they were cutting up a year ago, 6 months ago, they were cutting a lot of jobs. And there was a lot of junior engineers. And so a lot of those people probably figured out, okay, I got to figure out something else. Maybe on their downtime, they were trying to make interesting tools. If they were, white hat, but if they're black hat, then maybe they were trying to make some nefarious tools, trying to hold up a hospital, hold up a bank, send me all your Bitcoin, or we'll delete all your files, right? Like that type of stuff happens. So what does that need? That needs an opposite team. So you're creating your red team, and then you have to now create a better blue team because there's now different tools in the work. This is just my thoughts, okay? But basically, they're showing, let's see, banking, financial services, insurance, healthcare, manufacturing are shifting, and so they're going towards a lot more core work. Where, yeah, I've seen this is cloud, AI, cybersecurity. They're growing fields. If you're in any of those domains and you haven't been studying hard, getting more certifications, doing more projects, doing more labs, you're going to be left behind. And that's where I'll say you're going to see your wins. So hope you appreciate the analysis. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit the like button, subscribe, share, but drop those concerns in the chat, in the comment section, and I'll hopefully answer that with another video. All right. Thank you for joining.